For many Australians, Tina Turner is synonymous with two things: the Nutbush Dance and the NRL. The singer became a fixture of rugby league, performing at the grand final and starring in a series of commercials etched in the nation's collective memory. Well, John Quayle was the head of the NRL during its Simply the Best campaign, widely considered one of the league's most successful. He was instrumental in getting Tina Turner involved, and he joins me now. John Quayle, thank you so much for your time. So this all came about because of a chance meeting with Tina Turner's Australian manager at the time, is that right?
Yes, that's correct, Katrina. Our agency, Hertz Walpole at the time, had come up with a creative idea of a song by Tina called What You See Is What You Get. And so we were able, because Roger was an Australian, we were able to make contact with him. And he was coming to see his mother in Melbourne and watch the Boxing Day test and cricket. And so he stopped over in Sydney. We presented to him. He didn't think that it was possible at that stage, but a couple of days later he rang and said, "You've got one day in London to film, and if you can do it, we can have a look at it, we'll go from there." And I got on a plane with Jim Walpole, and we took footballs, football jumpers, and some videos to show Tina what rugby league was all about. She warmed to it, and Roger did, and we filmed it that one day in London in freezing conditions with Gavin Miller and Cliffy Lyons, two players who were playing in England at the time. And that was the first commercial. It received a lot of controversial debate in that stage because she was American, she was black, and she was a grandmother. And so many people said, well, what's she doing promoting the game of league? But then Katrina Roger phoned us again after that one campaign and said, we think we've got a song that Tina is going to record at the end of the year. And we think it's been written, I think it's been written for sport. You better get over here and have a listen to it. And naturally we did. And we were able to purchase that song for the Southern Hemisphere for the next 7 years. And it became the anthem, not only for league, but it's certainly synonymous now with sport and legendary status as far as advertising concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember growing up as a kid and having really no interest in rugby league, growing up in Perth, and just knowing that song, knowing its association with the sport, it was absolutely synonymous. But I want to take you back a moment. So did you always have her on your radar as someone that you wanted to work with to promote the sport?
No, not at all. It was the agency's decision when they heard the music in one of their young creative directors had said, this song, this What You See Is What You Get, I think is something we can put the theme to. And as you just said, we were predominantly a sport played by men, watched by men, and the agencies, we were looking to attract a new audience. And it was taking the football jumpers off players, taking them off the football field, and making them in it, giving them a different image. And that's how it all started. And that theme then...
What was she like to work with?
Well, that was, I think, made it so successful, Katrina, because you can see in the commercials how she enjoyed it. She made everyone relax every day on the set. She loved it. Across the world, people pull her up and say, I just love that commercial you've done in Australia. And like you, we're in AFL territory on so many occasions. People would say, look, we don't think much of your sport, but by gee, we love that commercial. And it changed the face in relation to league from a viewer point of view.
And the song The Best turned into Simply the Best. So you went over to the US and you listened to the recording and you knew it was for the NRL?
Oh, certainly. I think that was and that's how it happened. I'm so pleased that Roger heard that, as when he heard it, knew it wasn't, it wasn't even recorded yet by Tina. Those words, simply the best, we knew that related to sport. And we were fortunate that our sport was able to grab it. It's still, synonymous with, as you say, with the game still today in advertising terms. And I think it always will be credited as an anthem and one of the great advertising campaigns for sport that's ever been seen.
And also one of the great sporting performances when she appeared at the NRL Grand Final in 1993.
It certainly was. She was happy to, come out. We knew we were going to film and we planned it around Grand Final time. And she had no hesitation in coming. And, to think that all those people in that arena sang Simply the Best and was filmed for our next year of the commercial. It was just a wonderful time. But from her point of view, she was just so natural and she didn't change. There were never any demands. If you look at all the commercials, never security everywhere or anything like that. It was just Tina. And I think from the time she walked onto every set, everyone, including the players, and she loved working with them. But everyone just relaxed from the time she entered the set.
Did she like the sport?
Well, it was interesting when I first took videos over and we were at an apartment in London and I'm saying, look, and she was making comment, John, there's no padding on them. They're not wearing helmets. And, we've shown the old VHS tapes and they're hitting each other. She was making the comment, it's a pretty tough game. I said, yes, it's a very tough game. They don't wear padding. There's none of that. And I think after that first commercial, that's when she warmed to the sport. And her and Roger always would just react to it. Anything that the directors would come up and let's try this. Tina was first to say yes.
You've touched on this briefly, but what do you think her legacy is in Australia as a result of being part of the NRL? And what's been her impact on the code?
Well, I think from an international star, which she is, certainly the first thing. I don't think rugby league. I think rugby league is very fortunate that we were part of a particular era and a particular music part of her life. As an international superstar, we were fortunate that we saw her as a natural person. We saw her as being part of our sport. And I think the legacy side of things will always, simply the best, is always going to be acknowledged with the sport of rugby league, and that's a great legacy.
Absolutely. John Quayle, we really appreciate you taking the time to share those insights with us. It's a remarkable story of how Tina Turner came to be involved with Australia's rugby league.
Thanks very much, Katrina.